41% of you, 41% of you said, I want to hear more about how Mordecai blunders his relationship for like 6 years, so let's start. So as you see, this is the first dive into the Margaret CJ arc. I'm going to go from the first Margaret episode all the way into the last CJ episode, or the last Margaret romantic episode. And this one is rather minor in the grand arc, but it introduces the entire sentiment, so I'd rather start small and work my way up to the grand scheme. One thing you have to love about this is that classic regular show aesthetic. Yeah. I hate pulling this card because it's super overused and like there is a lot of stuff that you didn't need to be around for, but for this you had to have been around during this time in 2010, 2011 to really understand this Cartoon Network, this era. It's unparalleled as far as this era of television animation, and it laid the foundation for what's to come. And I always have this sort of nostalgic feeling towards this time. The synchronization of the characters, how dorky they look doing it, and the music. Regular show was known for many things, and music was one of them. Super notable, super unique, and it fits perfectly. I also just love the voice of this announcer guy.
Listen up, pumpheads, fist pump is coming to Slammers! They just got out of jail and rehab, and now they're back and ready to rock your 11 to 15-year-old pants off! That's our demographic, get over it!
He just sounds so hyped and over the top that it fits perfectly. I want someone like that to narrate my entire life. I love it. As I said, this is a minor episode as far as the arc is concerned, but I'll focus on the Margaret parts as they come up. There's one in the beginning and there's one at the end, but in the meantime, let's focus on the contrast between Mordecai and Rigby. Even though both of them were dancing earlier, Mordecai doesn't want to go, but Rigby wants to, more than he's ever wanted to do anything his entire life, which makes sense for him. It's easy to forget, but within the first season, it's a lot slower than its already chill pacing. The show doesn't generally ramp up things until it gets supernatural, however within season 1, it feels like things are pulled back even more. This entire scene has very little jokes, it's just a regular conversation within this regular show. It shows you that even one of the greatest shows had a very early but polished version of their vision. They had that bro relationship where they were competitive amongst each other but had an underlayer of love and respect for each other, which made the relationship endearing. And speaking of relationships, Margaret would enter the picture.
Fist bump!
Yeah, cool.
Wait, you're going?
Yeah, I am. I know they're kind of old, but I remember them from when I was a kid. Besides, everyone is gonna be there. It's gonna be fun. Are you guys gonna go?
I'm totally gonna go.
Oh, so now you're gonna... Ow!
We get one of the first major interactions between Mordecai and Margaret within the show, and as you can see, not much would change during the coming seasons. It's a very standard setup where Mordecai wouldn't want to do something, but Margaret would, so he'd now want to do it, and Rigby would see right through it, but always would be punched or removed from the conversation so that Mordecai wouldn't directly confront that. If this is your first regular show review from me, allow me to set the scene here. I never really had a problem with this setup. In fact, there are many times where this is not only okay, but this is exactly what would work for the situation at hand. The only thing I had an issue with is that this exact same interaction, we would see this for the next 7 to 8 seasons, and spoiler alert, but the resolution to all of this doesn't come from Mordecai stepping up and being a man about things every time. A lot of times, it's everyone around him getting sick of him pulling this exact same card. And keep in mind, at this time, Rigby isn't into dating. All he wants to do at this time is hang out with his bro. That's all he's ever wanted to do. He's got the same job as his bro, he slacked off with his bro, and now he wants to go to this concert with his bro, not some girl. No disrespect to Margaret, of course. Rigby doesn't hate Margaret. In fact, if you saw in my other review in Its Time, Rigby thought Margaret was kind of cute as well. Mordecai would write off this as Rigby simply not getting the real reasons why people go to concerts. Even if that's the case, what is his plan? Wouldn't he have to ask Margaret to go to the concert with him, or was he planning on going to the concert and hoping that Margaret was close enough to have a good time with? Also, pun not intended. We get that famous trademarked JG Quintel clock wipe transition into Mordecai, Rigby, and Benson, speaking about the possibility of the duo working extra hours to earn some more money. Of course, given their reputations as slackers, Benson initially denies, wanting to not give them more work than they'd actually do. It is then when we meet the Chad himself.
Are you serious?
fist pump? You know what kind of people go to those concerts?
That's right, ladies! We got 2 tickets to Fist Pump! See you later, grandmas!
In just 10 seconds, he's already the star of the show. But even Muscle Man sounds different. He just sounds like someone who's trying to play Muscle Man, but not the Muscle Man that we know. Season 1 was definitely working on those intangible nuances that can't be described but can be felt as the show goes on. I also just like the fact that he fits perfectly for the aesthetic of someone who would enjoy fist bump. Benson is surprisingly calm and much more patient with the two, not knowing the years of slacking off and headaches that they would give. And thus, through the persuasion of Skips and Pops, Benson bends over and gives them extra tasks. I really enjoy this early attitude towards the duo. At this moment, you wouldn't have had a montage of moments to go back to know about Mordecai and Rigby's personality. It's like watching Tea at the Tree Dome from SpongeBob. You just get a certain feeling from seeing SpongeBob interact with Sandy for the first time. Unless you believe what they're saying in the premise of Camp Coral, but that's for another day. I do like how Rigby led the conversation with Benson, by the way, given that he's more passionate about seeing the band, and plus him groveling and being annoyingly persistent. It just shows his personality, given that we'd see more of that in the years coming. They'd work harder than they ever had, and if you know Mordecai and Rigby, that is saying something. And it shows in their resilience and motivations, given that this is extra work. And they'd finish it better and faster than they would had it just been regular work and they didn't have anything that they were saving up for.
Dude, I'm fading fast.
Don't worry, dude. We just gotta fight it with coffee.
The focal point of this episode revolves around their dependence of coffee. As someone who can be pretty tired throughout the day, and also when writing the script and when recording the script, portraying coffee as this magical elixir that keeps you up regardless of your body is tempting, but I refuse to sign over my dependence to coffee. In fact, it's cartoonishly exaggerated to a moderate level that when combined with the goofy nature of the show and these straightforward montages, it kinda gives this authentic charm to what you're seeing. I also love this vacuum joke here where they're in the hype of the moment and thus make a terrible decision in hindsight. It's a minor joke that cements their personalities as lovable doofs without being overbearing. Of course, the tickets that they wanted are now sold out, and they were the cheapest, by the way. Therefore, now they need to work even harder for the possibility to get the super deluxe front row seats, which are $400 each. Please ignore that giant coffee bean in the background who is doing nothing but staring at the main characters. Even though he has no speaking roles during this moment, I guess you're supposed to see this as foreshadowing.
We can't give up. Fist pump!
I know, dude, but I just don't want to work anymore. Oh my. Maybe I could work a little more.
Again, minor moment, but it does show that his motivations to work harder all fall on the possibility of being noticed, befriended, and eventually dating Margaret. This one girl who is only built up as a love interest at this point. She has no personality other than being portrayed within the show as being the attractive love interest for Mordecai. We are to root for this relationship because Mordecai is a lovable doof. But at the same time, we have to sweep under the rug that he's putting attention from Margaret on a pedestal above his own health, his bond with Rigby, and just common sense.
Need more coffee. Need more Margaret.
Fist pump.
Given that you'd see Margaret at the coffee shop practically every day that you have money, this seems like something a little out of your pay grade, bro. I love how the episode nonchalantly pushes the potential events that come from this. Are we to believe that Mordecai would have had a great time with Margaret off of a coffee low? He couldn't even talk to her before coffee. Why would he be any different after? Anyway, despite Rigby saying that he couldn't keep his eyes open, he finds those plot convenient reserves to be awake long enough to speak to that coffee person that was at the movie theater. Let's go over their motivations while we're here. So their plan was to overhear someone who didn't get tickets and find the right people who just so happen to not only like coffee, but need it for an important task and thus make them work twice as hard to get the money. My guy, you have the ability to create coffee at a moment's notice. Why not just open a store right across from the one that Margaret works from and blow them out of business off of raw work ethic? Like, this would be like having the ability to teleport and then only using it to help a child down the stairs because they want to watch the TV downstairs rather than upstairs. You're not even in the solar system of hitting your potential if this is your power. Also, he has a translator. Who is the guy? You don't care. However, the translator is here to make sure that Mordecai and Rigby, and thus the audience, understands what he's trying to say. But at the same time, he couldn't get that exact same translator to make a contract in English? Let's say he was manipulative. It's not like Mordecai or Rigby would have even read it.
Coffee, 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 coffee.
Ah, cool, a contract. Let's sign it.
Coffee, coffee.
Still less weird than when Kid Danger did it. They'd have a whole montage, and that leads into them getting the tickets. I do want to acknowledge the great music, the return of the vacuum joke, both are great. However, we have the big switch. So the only reason why the contract was written in the coffee language rather than in English is because it had a clause that they'd be working for twice the amount of tickets that they needed. Again, with the coffee power like that, it seems like you're setting your sights way too low. And of course, they blow him off. And I get that technically they signed an agreement and they're not honoring it, but at the same time, the episode doesn't really focus on that aspect. Like, yes, they are kind of rude for doing so, despite the fact that it was his coffee powers that got Mordecai and Rigby where they are, but you put the entire contract in front of sleepy guys with a language that they can't read, despite there being a translator. In other words, you reap what you brew.
Mordecai and Rigby, we are very excited for you to be the ones to see Fist Bump. Please accept this coffee to help you make it through concert.
Thanks. Hey, what the? This isn't coffee.
It's chamomile tea, the sleepiest of all teas.
So the story kind of falls apart here. So the sleep-deprived slackers who are basically running on fumes and coffee drink the sleepiest of all teas and were only knocked out for the duration of time it took for you to get downstairs? Far be it from me to suggest that Quintel is a slacker, but I'm sure the dude has a story that revolves around a good 10-hour plus sleep after being up for so long, especially considering that he's a showrunner. I mean, come on, you can't have hair like that and not be one. We get the big chase, it's full of energy, action, and it has that classic regular show atmosphere. I love the fact that this dude was holding a chainsaw just for this exact moment. Who would have thought?
You know, at first I thought you were cool, but now I know that you're both total losers.
Everybody hates you.
Oh, and I just realized something.
What?
Your coffee sucks.
There's just something about this false sense of bravado and unprovoked coolness that makes early Mordecai and Rigby so endearing. It's kind of charming to see that they actually believe everything that they say, even when a lot of times they're full of it. Here, technically Mordecai and Rigby are the jerks, but you don't care because they just seem cooler. Logically, you should care, but why? They're Mordecai and Rigby, and that's what matters. Going into the club, we get Muscle Man being even more amazing to the point where I'd say he was the highlight of this episode. And the grand reveal, Margaret was coming here with her boyfriend. As if Mordecai himself didn't allude to this earlier when he said that people go to a concert for one reason. It's almost as if he reaps what he brews as well. I like how this is custom tailored for Mordecai himself to look even more like a simp. Margaret's boyfriends are always jerks, or basically that guy that a nice guy or a simp would naturally never befriend due to contrasting mindsets and looks and personalities or whatnot. This is perfect simp material, and it just sets the stage for what is to come. Also, side note, what happened to that girl who Margaret was laughing with outside of the theater? Did they both come but not get tickets together? Did Margaret bring her out here to see the theater just to tell her that she will be here for a concert later? It doesn't matter because you're not supposed to think about it. And speaking about things you're not supposed to think about.
Don't worry about her. You'll get another chance.
Oh, but he would. Again, and again, and again, and again, and again. The big twist is that they worked so hard on fumes to get to the concert that they would end up sleeping in the middle of it. I guess loud, ear-piercing rock music will not bother them, but the stranger danger of a coffee bean would. Anywho, this episode is great. I wouldn't call it my favorite, but it definitely isn't bad. I do poke holes at some of the parts within the story, but it's not a major point added. It's not something that, you know, it would ruin my enjoyment of it. It's not immersion breaking. On the whole, a standard way to start off the arc. The next episode from this arc also comes from season 1. It's These Unicorns Have Got to Go. Let me know what you think of Margaret and Mordecai within the comments below. And also thank you guys for being so patient in voting in the poll. Everyone who voted in the poll, thank you so much. I have a lot more polls where that came from. Thank you so much for your time. take care. Alpha out.